Thank you. So like Lisa said, this is something that I am quite passionate about. I love this sort of stuff, and I tend to go down rabbit holes. When I put this presentation together for you guys, it was 3 times as big, and I was like, no, we'll just compress that down, just because I really, really love this stuff, and I'm a big nerd when it comes to this sort of things. So hopefully I've managed to put it into bite-sized pieces, pun intended, that you guys can take away with you. And there's so many topics that I wanted to cover with you, but you know what? You guys are going to be coming back again and again and again, because I'm going to put on more and more of these. So I thought, okay, what should we focus on first? And one of the things that came up was just around the whole weight loss thing. We're still at the beginning of the year. Some of us would have had goals around that sort of thing, as we do every year. And it's usually about this time of the year where it kind of and doesn't work. So I thought, okay, well maybe we can just kind of pick up those pieces and run a little bit further forward with it, maybe see if we can get it all the way to the end of the year and actually get you towards your goal. So this one does have a weight loss focus, but it's not all entirely on weight loss. It's more about living better and just eating a lot more healthy and the changes that you can make. So while yes, there is the weight loss component to it, you'll find that if you were not here for the weight loss, but here for general health, just want to feel better, the information in here will get you there as well, because it really does go hand in hand. If you start to nourish the body properly, as we will see in a moment, then the weight loss will come. But if that's, again, not your thing, then that's cool. You just enjoy a better, healthier life. All right, so there are a few things that I want to put my timer on. I tend to waffle, and I am going to get you out of here at 8, I promise. All right, so there is going to be 5 things that I want to cover. So pitfalls of processed foods, because that's one of the things that I've identified. Now, I've run these challenges. I've run challenges before, like Lisa said, 12-week challenges, 10-week challenges, 6-week challenges. It all just depends on the person's attention span. But one thing that keeps coming up again and again and again is the whole what do we eat? And a lot of times there are things that people are looking for, things being mostly convenience. And so processed food will fall into that category. So I want to address the processed foods side of things. Also wanted to talk about listening for the signals. So your body is going to be sending out signals to you, and it's whether or not we listen to those signals. All right, so being able to pick up on those cues that are already there inside of us, those innate cues that we can tune into to really help us along. So if we have a better understanding of what we're listening for, what we're looking to feel, then we'll have a better management of what we're trying to do with our weight or just eating. We're going to talk about mindfulness. It's one of those things that years ago, and I think it's just being a guy, it was one of those things, it's like mindfulness, just do it. It's, we all have different types of brains, and I get that. So it's funny because Lisa was talking about mindful breathing today, and my initial reaction is to roll my eyes. That's just mindful, but you know what, when you actually drill down into it, when we're looking for listening to our body, the mindfulness will come, and knowing what to be mindful for, how to be mindful, because there's really no guidebooks. A lot of times it's like, we're going to go into mindless breathing, mindful breathing or mindful eating, and it's just like, okay, well, what does that entail? So we're going to break that down, and we'll find out what kind of eaters that you are as well. So what kind of snacker are you? So when we are looking for that something to satisfy us, we're not all the same. And if you don't know what kind of snacker you are, and really it's not until I start to look at some of these studies that it's like, you know what, I never really actually thought about that I've really been able to really zero in on what snacks I love. And there's more to it than just choosing the snacks that you love. And again, we'll get to that one. And then, of course, what the heck do we do with all this information at the end? All right, so far I am on track, so that is good. So I want to first, like I said, talk about processed foods. So when I say processed foods, things that usually come to mind are like, cheese products, so things that they can't legally call cheese, or foods that cannot be legally called whatever it is. So something that's been so processed, so messed with that it no longer resembles, everyone's just looking, I'm sorry, that is crazy high, I know. Something that no longer resembles the food that initially it was. But when you think about cakes or any baked goods that we have, that would be a processed food. I've got a bowl of nutrient, I can't tell if you can tell, but that's a bowl of nutrient. That's just breakfast cereal. Looks nothing like what actually goes into it. You got your muesli bars. So processed food, something that goes through mechanical processing, gets pulled apart and put back together with other ingredients to make it into something else. And there's a very good quote up there that was from, so formulations mostly of cheap industrial sources of dietary energy and nutrients, plus additives using a series of processes. And the key there is additives. So the additives that are usually going to be added are things like binders to keep it together, emulsifiers to keep it from separating. You want to have your cheaper calories in there, and that's usually going to come in the form of carbohydrates and sugars. All right, and none of the stuff that we generally need, so it's not going to be very nutrient dense. So the ultra processed foods, it could even take the form of something, say like a hamburger, something that's been pulled apart. So think of a steak, that is a whole food, it's a steak, you have to chew it. The hamburger, it's been ground down and changed into something completely different. So the reason I bring that up is because there's this study. So this is the first study I'm going to throw at you, and I love these things, so just go with it.
We will send you a resource list and a copy of this.
There will be. I don't expect you to read that and actually do not even try, because I'm just going to summarize it. So this one here was a study they did. It's in the US, but they took 20 males, all in around the age of 30, and they said, all right, I'm going to give you guys, use 10 high processed meals, and I'm going to give you guys the whole food versions. They tried to make them exactly the same. So the number of calories, carbohydrates, protein, were pretty equal for like the super processed foods and the low processed or whole foods. And they said, okay, here you go, here's your foods. And you can eat as much as you want, just eat till you're satisfied, just go on and see what happens over 2 weeks. And group A, the one that had the processed foods, one, they ate more, just volume. So in the area of 500 kilocalories a day, which is equal to an additional meal. So that includes more fats and more sugars that went in. At the end of the 2 weeks, they managed to put on 1 kilo. And then the other group that had the whole foods, they went the other way. So they managed to eat within their range, managed to lose 1 kilo, and they were just allowed to eat however much they wanted until satisfied. So in addition to having all of that done, they also unfortunately found that the processed foods, when they did the cost at the end of the week, it's like for the processed foods, they spent on average, it was $109, and remember these are US prices, can't do that here, and then $160 for the people with the whole foods. So I do get that there is the processed foods, there's the convenience factor, there's the cost factor, but there's also the health cost to it. So what you save in dollars, you just have to trade off with something. All right, so why is that important? Well, I came across this concept a little while ago, and I thought it was great. So there's 3 choices, but you can only choose 2 things when we were looking to build our meals. So 3 choices. You can either have something that's good, so something that's nutritious, and you can make it fast, but it won't be cheap. You can choose something that's good, and you can make it cheap, but it's not going to be ready very quickly. You're going to have to do it yourself. Lots of chopping, grating, creating for yourself. Or you can go the other option. You have something fast and cheap, definitely not going to be good for you. All right, so we just only can choose 2, unfortunately. So this is where we are when we're trying to make these decisions. So there's the processed foods versus the whole foods. There's the cheaper foods versus the more expensive, and of course the convenience versus something that's going to take a little bit of work. All right. So what makes those processed foods a poorer choice? All right, so first one, we've got the hyperpalatability. So the hyperpalatability is something that makes it taste so good that you want more. For me, it's caramel slices. So I just put caramel slices up there. I love a caramel slice. I can't stop with just half. It's one of those things. And this is the part where I kind of slow it down and say, I want to hear just a few of like those things. Just give me ideas. I want to know what I should be trying that really gets you guys going. So anybody, just Ron, what's your go-to? What's your snack choice?
Chocolate.
All right, who's the chocolate? Yeah, there's more hands. I know you guys. What else do we have out there?
Ice cream.
Ice cream? All
But
right.
don't tell my nutritionist husband, definitely don't tell him.
Okay, tell me about that. All right, so we got a chocolate. So who's got the ice cream in there? Fantastic. All right. Any savory people here? What's okay? What's your savories? Cheese. Cheese. It's the collective cheese. All right, so we'll put a cheese platter out next time.
Cheese and crackers.
Oh yeah.
What about crunchy? Anyone got that crunchy something? It's like, oh, what do we got? Crisps, yeah. Nuts.
Snacks, you mean?
Yeah.
Nuts.
Nuts, crisps, fantastic. All right. So you got that hyperpalatability, and there's a good chance that there's going to be high fats, or it's going to be high sugar, salts. So there's going to be some component to it that just draws you back again and again until it's gone. It's kind of like how you can look at the back of a pack of crisps or something and say, oh, there's like 3 serves in here. I'm just going to go. Exactly. No, there's not. All right. So it's got that. It's designed that way, so you get that overconsumption. So consumption time. See, this is another big one here. So think back to that something that's processed, so that something that's easy to eat. So our snacks, you can very easily sit there, and within 5 minutes it's gone. Right? It's think the hamburger, so that mince, something that's been hyper processed, broken down for you. Versus something that you have to really chew. So I'm going to go back to that hamburger patty versus a steak comparison. So with the hamburger patty, it's already ground down. You just put it in your mouth, a little bit of chewing, and it gets into the tummy. With the steak, something that you have to chew, it's going to take a little bit of extra work. And that's important because that's extra work is sending that signal to the brain saying, hey, we're doing a thing here, we're eating, and prepare the whole process. And we'll get to what that process is in a second. When we're able to consume something quickly, it takes a while for our brain to catch up to our stomach. So we might not have that, hear that music behind me. We might not have that signal to the brain. So it takes about 20 minutes for that hormonal signal from our tummy to reach our brain. So the next time you're sitting at home, eating dinner, I'd love you just sneakily stick on a timer, just see how long it takes. And you know, I'll hands up, I'm guilty of this one. If I'm down there to do something, I will eat and get the heck out of there. I'm not gonna sit there and just be mindful. It's really hard. But when you do, one, it freaks everyone else out because it takes you so long to eat. But 2, you're gonna find that you're able to really slow down, enjoy your food a lot more, and you have that satiety, that feeling of fullness a little bit longer. And that last one, the multitaskability. I just made that last word up. I don't know if taskability is a thing, but the multitaskability. So, this is a fun one. So if I were to say to you, between 50 and 60% of adults use their phones while they eat, would you believe me?
Yes.
If I said between 60 and 70, would you kind of go, oh, that's a little high, but yeah. It's actually 88%. I know, right? But you know, it's so handy, and it's going to get worse. And that distractibility, when we're on our phones, or sitting in front of the television, or you just have the TV on, you're just distracted. Maybe you're eating in the car. I don't know why, at least I want to say that. Maybe you're eating in the car while you drive. I know, right? But it's that distractibility. And so that is another one of those things where we're not concentrating on what we're doing, and we're not getting that signal from the belly back up to the brain. Speaking on someone driving and eating, I did see someone driving and eating cereal one morning. Don't drive behind that person, oh my goodness. So these three things where you have something that's really good, where you just can't stop yourself. It takes absolutely no effort at all to eat, and it takes no time to eat, and you can do it while not needing to pay attention. That's a bit of a triumvirate, a threesome of something that's really going to make it difficult for your body to send that signal to your brain. So from this, all I'd like to say is to try and choose foods that require a little bit more mindfulness, and I'll get into mindfulness in a second, but a little bit more hands-on and some more attention. So when you're choosing your foods, something that you need to cut with a knife and a fork, something that you need to chew, something that takes a little while is going to be more palatable. So if you are looking to get more in tune with your body and to get that signal from the belly to the brain, your number one goal is to fight against these three guys. All right, so you want to have, I'm not saying make gross food, don't make gross food, but choose foods that are not designed to trick you into just finishing the entire packet. You want to try and slow down your eating. And I remember one of the many challenges that I had within a weight loss group was like, all right, for this week, everything's eaten with chopsticks. Because these people were just terrible at using chopsticks. But you know what? It slowed them down until they got really good at using chopsticks. You learn a new skill. And I said, all right, use the chopstick with your left hand. And I can't. But so find ways to slow it down. And I looked for a picture of those dog toys where they put the treats in there to try and slow it down. But I thought, you know what? That's rude. I won't do that. But I just told you what it is.
That's all I do.
See, does a dog know? All right. So there is that mindful eating. All right. So I want you to picture, what we'll just do. We'll choose a cucumber. So there is 5 senses, and we can use all 5 when eating. And you can actually do this with anything that you're doing, mostly. If you're doing mindful breathing. But it's a nutrition talk, so we're going to talk about eating. So, your eyesight, we're looking at colors, the shapes and sizes of things, the texture. So just close your eyes. Just go with me on this one. Just close your eyes. I want you to picture a cucumber right now. I don't know why that was. You guys. All right, so picturing a cucumber right now. I'm going to close my eyes too. So in your mind, you don't have to say, how long is this cucumber? You can see it with your eyes. Maybe it's got a texture to it. Maybe it's one of those telegraph cucumbers, the covered in plastic ones, or maybe it's those Lebanese ones. It's got that rough skin, something a little bit thicker, a dull green, maybe a bright green. So you can see what it looks like. All right, you can see the length of it. And now how about the smell? You still have that cucumber sitting in front of you. What does it smell like? You've cut into it and you just pull that up to your nose and you can smell that. It has it smells green. It's bizarre. It smells like vegetation. It smells like plants. It has a little bit of a sweet smell. Maybe unless it's that Lebanese cucumber, you can smell the bitterness of the skin, that rind. All right? You put a piece of that into your mouth and you can still smell that. That smell comes through the back of your throat. All right? Now, how does it taste? Bless you. How does it taste? Does it have a sweetness or saltiness? Maybe you put salt on that imaginary cucumber in your head. All right? It has a saltiness. Maybe there's a sour bit. Maybe you didn't get all the skin off there, so you've got that sour bit on there. All right? Is there a little bit of bitterness? Really should not have a savory umami flavor to it, but if you put at least one, I suppose
That's your umami.
umami, we'll get into that. All right, how about the way that it sounds when you're cutting into it or you're crunching into it? Does it have that crunchiness, or is it one of those older, limper cucumbers? Have a crunch, something that's picked up that you can hear with your ears. You can hear it through your skull. Yeah, our eyes are still closed on this one. We're almost there. We're almost there, guys. Cucumber. What about how does it feel? You've got it in your hands. You've got that tactile feedback. In your fingers, you can feel the weight. You can feel how smooth or rough or waxy it is. What's yours feel like? The nerves in your hands, the muscles, you can feel the weight, how firm it is. Maybe it's a little bit old. Maybe it's got some squish to it. I don't know why you'd be imagining that. You've got a nice cucumber in your nice imagination. When you put it to your lips, what does it feel like? It's got that coolness to it. All right, so if your eyes are still closed, you can feel free to open them up. Your cucumber's gone. All right, but this is the mindfulness that I'm talking about. So you've got their 5 senses, and it's just one of those things. You don't have to sit there and make a big deal. You can do it to yourself, just with yourself, in your own head, and you have your plate in front of you. You've got a salad, you've got your steak, you've got your potatoes, you've got your shepherd's pie, whatever it is that you've made for yourself. But just go through, what does it look like? Look at the ridges, look at the texture, and the smell. How does it smell on the plate? What does it smell like when you put it in your mouth? Is there a difference between the two? Most likely there will be. What about the taste? I remember back in school when I was growing up, the teacher brought in like lemons and sugar, and it says, oh, put this around this side of your tongue, and this is your sweet sensors around here, and your bitterness is at the back of the tongue. They mapped out the tongue, and this is where like all these different flavors. That doesn't work. No, it's all there. It's all there. So how does it taste though? Is there a part of your tongue that you pick up those flavors a little bit more? Everyone's a little bit different, but how does that taste on the tongue? What flavors are you finding? That umami flavor is something that's savory, so think something that is meaty. So if you have like an MSG or a steak, it would just be meaty. So something like that. And what about the sound? When you crunch into it, does it make a sound? I've had apples, I've been hungry, and I've gone, this is the worst apple in the world, and thrown it just because it did not make that crunch. All right, when I eat an apple, I need it to crunch, or it's just not going to be satisfying. And I would rather go hungry than eat a sad apple. And what about the tactile feedback? What does it feel like? If you're having soup, maybe don't use your hands. But if you're having something else, make sure those hands are clean and get in there. I hear from people that eat with their hands that it is way more satisfying to eat with their hands than with utensils. I just can't bring myself. I think my mother will pop out of the closet and smack me. So I can't. But yeah, just going through. That's what I mean when I say mindfulness, just to slow it down. So if you're doing this, I'm not saying you have to do this with every bite, but if you're doing this continuously during your meal, that 5-minute meal turns into a 20-minute meal. And that 20-minute meal will be able to send that signal from your belly up to your brain. See, am I still on track? Still on track, yes. All right. Now, I said we were going to find out what kind of snackers we are. All right, so because there's more research and everyone likes research and researchers like to put people into categories, they came up with 4 categories of snackers. All right, so this is back in 2001, and I don't know why that's all just junk food. I mean, could put carrots up there, I guess. Oh, there are, right there. Crispy vegetables. Who calls them crispy? Anyways, so there's 4 types of snackers. There's the chewers, the crunchers, the suckers, and the smooshers. This is the technical term, smooshers, I kid you not. So chewers, they choose foods that can be chewed for longer without biting into it and crunching it down. So how many people here would say, yeah, you know what, I'm a chewer. If you're chewing like a snack. No chewers. Okay, cool. Crunchers, so more forceful bites. This is food fractures. So if you were to give me a hard candy and said, here you go, suck on this for a while, it would be gone. I am definitely a cruncher. Just like, I would crunch into it. I remember as a child, Jawbreakers, nah. I used to get through those. Any crunchers in here?
I think I'm all full.
Sorry? There's a lot of crunchers, okay. Suckers, so hard foods that can be held in their mouth. This is my father. He keeps those Werther's Originals in his car, and he will. He's an old guy. Yeah, he's an old guy. He's not here. And he'll just suck on that and suck on that. And he'll give me one, and like I said, it'll be gone like that, just because I cannot, for the life of me, not crunch through it. So, how many people in here are the suckers? Fantastic. All right, and then there's the smooshers, people that like the soft foods that can be held in their mouth. So this is like the ice creams, the bananas. I think that's cottage cheese because that's a perfectly reasonable snack. So smooshers? Okay.
Bananas.
Banana, right? Okay. And of course, you're not going to be all just, this is only what I do. So you're going to go across. And I think for the most part, we found that like there's okay. Just hands up for the crunchers again. Where are you guys? Yeah, okay. So that's, I'd say, the majority of us are crunchers. All right. So if you are ever finding yourself, and I think that everyone's guilty of this one, I'm guilty of this one, you go to the pantry, you're feeling a little snappy, and you reach for, I don't know, a handful of nuts, because it's the healthier your snack. You pop those in your mouth, you chew them, you go sit down, you're like, no, that did not do it. You want something that did not do it for you. So you go back for the cheese, because I know you guys like cheese, we've already discovered that. So, and I'm going to say the cheese would probably go into like that smoosher category. Something that's soft, just like gets around in there. It's just like, okay. But that didn't do it either. And then you go back and you find like maybe some crackers or crisp bread or whatever it is. And that's maybe the thing that does it. So if you know that you are looking for a particular sensation, you're going to be able to satisfy that craving a lot more. And why is that important? Because it stops you going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I've got this container of nuts at home, and when they are not mixed up, they go in layers. Right now I've got Brazil nuts, almonds, and then walnuts on the top. I'm a cruncher, and I have to get through those walnuts, which I hate, because they do not crunch to get to the ones that I like. And that's just me. So for you, it might be the other one, you want something a little bit softer, so choosing your snacks accordingly. If you know that you are a smoosher and you're not getting what you wanted out of that crispy vegetable, for example, that carrot stick. So I'd much rather go for a carrot stick just because of that crunch than an ice cream, because I would find that satisfying. So sometimes just recognizing that what we're after is a sensation rather than physical nutrition can help us just satisfy that craving and move on. All right. So when we combine that with our food choices and we're building our plate of, say, whole foods, and you want to make sure that you've got something on there that's going to satisfy you, nourish you in the soul, not just your tummy, but in the soul, something that's going to give you that satisfaction, knowing how to make that food is going to be very helpful. My mother, bless her, used to boil the crap out of everything. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts? Cabbage rolls. Oh, God, I haven't thought about those in years. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Change the water.
Just get it all out. No more color in my bedroom. Yeah, but I think it's a very English thing to do. I don't know. But just boil the crap out of everything. So, no, I did not like broccoli as a child, but you know what?
That's what they did with those.
Yeah, that's what they did, right? But, knowing that you are someone that enjoys crunchy, if you're someone that's like, oh, I don't like this particular vegetable, try it a different way that might satisfy. All right, so what else plays a role in satisfying us? So we got hormones.
Yay!
All right, so there's two hormones, just because you can't go through this without mentioning hormones. So you've got there's lots, but there's two major ones that I'm going to pinpoint. I'm just going to gloss over them because this is not the place to start going into hormones. But there's two. There's leptin, and that one is associated with your appetite. So that signal that I was talking about from the belly to the brain, that's leptin. So just so you know that there's something, that signal is not just magic going from the brain, from the belly to the brain. That's your hormonal signal. That's leptin. Insulin, I'm sure we've heard of before, and that's usually associated with your blood sugar levels, so your glucose levels in your blood. And when that gets a little bit low, you start to get a little bit hangry, and so you're looking to manage those insulin levels. So the reason that I have those there is because they are very important signals for the brain, but they are often overridden. Can we do the lights now? Yeah, that's good. So they are often overridden by other signals. So your stomach is about the size of your fist when empty, can be, and it can expand to 4 times that size when full and really stretched. There are sensors, these mechanoreceptors that just surround your tummy. Just like with muscles, when you're stretching and being overstretched, your stomach has those same receptors on them, and they're able to send a signal to your brain a lot faster than the hormones. So when we're sitting there and we are eating and we get to that point of stuffed, that's when those senses go, okay, that's enough, we can't possibly fit. But we shouldn't be trying to get to that point. We need to pull that back. Now the fun thing about stomachs is that they are very elastic. They do stretch, and they do contract. A lot of times, what they will find in clinical settings, for people that are going in for surgeries to shrink those down, is that they've gotten so stretched out and they just haven't come back. But with enough time, they can come back. Picture it as an elastic band that's been stretched and stretched and stretched, and then it doesn't come back as tight, right? But because it's a living elastic band, given enough time, in the right settings, given enough time, it can shrink back. So by watching and not hitting that limit, your stomach won't be able to, would prefer not to expand as much each time. So over the course of a few weeks, you could actually retrain your stomach to not expand as much. So when you are reaching that full point, it's not getting to that maximum capacity that it was before, it's getting just a little bit less and hitting that and sending that signal. And over time, with enough training, you're training your stomach, you can have it reach that critical point where it's supposed to be. It's like, okay, I'm full, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough. And then with that one, you're eating slowly, mindfully, getting that signal, both from your tummy and from your hormones. And it's telling you, you know what, you're full. And hopefully you've chosen the carrot sticks and you've satisfied that crunchiness. All right, so there are a few concepts that I've put out here for you today. Hey, he's still on track. All right, so processed foods. One, makes it difficult to gauge how much fat, carbs, sugar that we're consuming. In addition to that, it's hard for our bodies to get that signal quick enough from our tummies to our brain saying, hey, there's food. You've eaten that food that's already been broken down quite a fair bit. When you've got to chew something, it sits in your tummy a little bit longer. When you don't really have to chew that much, the stomach's able to process it and push it along a lot quicker. So the transit time from the tummy into the digestive system is a lot quicker. And if that's moving along quicker, then of course that signal's not going to get from the belly to the brain. So having things that take a little bit more time to break down is going to help you get that signal across. So think things that you have to chew, things that are high in fiber. Ooh, this talk was almost going to be about gut health. We were going to talk about poop and stuff, but that's going to be next time. I know, fascinating stuff. There's a stool chart. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Focus. All right, so we've got the preference for the types of food that we like to have in our mouths. All right, and I think that most of us are the crunchers, right? So knowing that we like the crunchy things, you know, it's summer-ish. Okay, it's autumn now. It's autumn. It's a bad example, but we're supposed to have a wonderful variety of foods available to us right now. Yes, there's been some terrible things happening, so fresh fruits and veggies are not. But when it is all working as it should be, you know, we've got some great variety available to us. And there is enough, more than enough, to find something that fits into your category of how I like to eat. We know that it takes about 20 minutes for the brain to register that fullness from the hormonal signaling. So we know that we need to slow it down a little bit. And that the stretch receptors, hey, the thing I was talking about in our stomachs, send a signal to the brain, letting us know that we're full. So if we have all of this, and we know that we can slow down, we can choose foods a little bit differently, and that we can be a little bit more mindful and enjoy the foods that we're eating, and just pay attention to what we're doing, and put the phones away, put the television away. I'd say enjoy conversation, but I don't know what your families are like. But just be a little bit more mindful with what's in front of us. It'll be a lot easier for us to start to realize what's happening inside our bodies. All right, so the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. So yes, there is a 6-week, we call it a challenge because why not? People like the word challenge. So it's a 6-week challenge, and what it's going to be is 6 weeks. Every week's going to have a little bit of a different theme. We're going to cover topics like, how to navigate a cafe breakfast, because I'm not saying don't go to a cafe, but you can go to a cafe. There are better choices than other things. Definitely setting some goals so we can achieve them, because if you don't have a goal, then what the heck are you going to achieve? And I had to put it in there because I am all about the gut health. So we're going to definitely be covering how to eat well for a healthy gut, and then of course the pantry essentials. And what you need, what you don't. So we're actually going to go through our own pantries, like on our own. So I'm not going to go into your house. I could go into your house. While you're sleeping, watch you sleep. No, I'm going to go into your own house, go into your pantry, and I'm just going to get you to pull it apart. Maybe give it a clean while you're in there. Pull it apart, see what's in there. What do you need? What do you don't? What should you be adding in there just to help you along with your goal? All right. So over that 6 weeks, during the week, you're going to have bite-sized videos from me. Again, there's that pun. So something that's like 10 minutes max. I know I tend to waffle on, but I'm just going to try and keep those down. 10 minutes max, a little video every day in your inbox, because I know that Facebook is not for everybody. But there is going to be a Facebook group for people that are on Facebook where they can kind of get in there, chat, ask me any questions about the topic. So what are those topics? So week 1, we're going to look at goal setting and wiping the slate. Yes, okay. Wiping that slate. So just really start to clear the area, making sure that we've got a nice, clean surface to work from. This is our surface. I'm not talking about an actual desk or anything. So our own surface. We're going to be listening for the signals in week 2. So once we've wiped that slate clean, all right, now we're going to start to listen to what the body is telling us and start to get familiar with different sensations. It's amazing how afraid of being hungry people are, but it's a very important signal that the body sends to us. And it's one that's often confused with thirst, and we'll talk about that during week 2. Finding out our threshold. So what are we capable of nutritionally? Mind you, I'm not going to make you run around. It's for when you're in here doing your thing. But finding our threshold. So what can our body tolerate? What doesn't it like? What does it respond well to? What makes you feel better? And what just makes you feel like crap? And maybe don't do that again. Week 4, planning for fun times, because Easter's coming. All right. Fun times being things around family or around friends or both. You're going to be in social situations. How do you navigate that? How do you adjust what you're doing to be able to accommodate and not be like, I can't have that because Alexander said so. I don't want to be that guy where they kind of walk down the street and it's like, there it is. All right, I get enough of that already. All right, week 5, we're going to reassess and make adjustments. So we're going to go back to the beginning, just kind of very quickly. Hey, how are you doing? Do we need to start something over again? What's working? What isn't? Let's make those adjustments. And of course, week 6 is making sure that those changes that we make are solidified, that we can go forward. Now, I'm not going to say that 6 weeks will have you sorted if you go to school. Nothing good happens in 6 weeks, nutritionally we'll say. You need at least that long to form good habits, if not longer. I think the magic number is actually 66 days when you go to from end to end, but 66 days for a habit to stick around on average. And so 6 weeks is definitely not long enough, but at least set you up to go in the right direction. All right, so, that one's supposed to be there. There we go. Yeah. All right, so if you wanted to get involved in the 6-week challenge, I did not mention a meal plan. I did not put it on the slide. There is going to be a weekly meal plan on there as well. I was going to do individualized meal plans, but I realized very quickly that there are a lot of you, and there's one of me. So what I'm going to do, and because I'm more about the education thing, I think if you know me, you know that I love to talk and to try and teach, and that's going to be the focus The weight loss programs that I've been in before and run collectively, it's been very much hand-holding. It's like, here, I want you to do exactly as I say, and then you will succeed. And if you fall off, well, come here and we'll just cuddle instead. But it'll be, this one is more like, I want you to have the information. All right, so this is one of my passions is teaching, showing people how to do things themselves. Essentially, I'm looking to put myself out of a job, but by teaching you guys, I will be way more satisfied because you won't be relying on me. And it's when the questions stop, or they even increase, or they kind of go off on a tangent. Love that sort of stuff, because it means that something has resonated with you, and that's what I'm looking to do, is just to ignite that spark of like, I want to know more about this and how it can serve me. All right, so with the experiments that studies and stuff that I've shown you, they've used a few people to hundreds of people. It doesn't matter. Your experiment is going to be an experiment of one, just you. All right, there's so much going on within you. You're an experiment of just one, and what works for you isn't necessarily going to work for the next person. And what works for that person, it's very unfortunate, might not work for you. All right, and there's a whole psychology around that. We're definitely not going to get into about that. All right, but it's a 6-week challenge. It's going to be $60 for the 6 weeks, and you can book it through your app that you use on your phone to book your classes, because that's just how efficient we are. All right, so what I'm going to do is just going to reverse this all the way back to the beginning, because there is usually a question or two. So just on